All right, so in the last one, we widened out all of the randomly placed grass blocks. And, oh, let me add that to our list. So we filled up an area with random grass blocks with a cuboid function. And what else can we do with the cuboid function? We can widen all grass blocks in the cuboid. So that's at least 4 neat things we've seen that we can do just with this cuboid function, which, as I keep saying, is an extremely powerful tool. Now let's make each of these little mounds higher. Let's make them taller so they look like hills. So I'll move back here to the beginning of my cuboid, my handy sponge block right there. And I'll take this and let's just disable it, and we'll move it over to a place where we're storing all of our little tools. We've got 3 of them so far. And now, how do we make things higher? Actually, it'll be very, very similar to this. So very similar to what we did before to make it wider. Making it higher is not gonna change too much. All right, so if we get to a place where the material is grass, what we can do is go up 1 and make grass as well. That's not going to be quite what we want, but let's just look at what that looks like, because it's close. It's getting there. We'll do exactly what we did before, but if we find any grass, we'll move up 1, place some grass, and then move back down. And so what that'll do is it'll kind of raise up each grassy mound, so it'll be a little bit taller, so it's kind of like a hill. Let's run that, and let's see if those hills get higher. Yeah, they totally did. It didn't get higher right here because that's slightly outside of my cuboid, but everywhere else inside of the cuboid did get taller, which is interesting. It's kind of cool, actually. It's actually sort of starting to feel a lot more like a maze. Is that a dead end? Yep. Can't go that way. And so these hills got a little bit taller. And we could run that again, and what's interesting is actually it won't get taller this next time. It's not going to get taller. Let's do it. Nothing will happen. Why did nothing happen? Well, it's because my cuboid starts here and goes to the far corner way over there, and so the only things inside my cuboid are these ones on this level. So if I want these to grow taller, I have to move my cuboid up, which I can do just by running my code at a slightly different place. So I'll target this block when I run, and we should now see those get taller. That's kind of an interesting terrain, but and maybe you like that. Maybe that's a perfectly fine terrain for you. You could probably run around that and play some interesting games with your friends. But I want it to look a little bit more natural, and so that's why I said this is terrain generation is a lot like an art. You build stuff, and if you decide it doesn't look quite the way you want it, you change your code around, and you just keep doing that until it looks the way you want. And this doesn't look quite the way I want, even though I will admit it does look pretty cool. Let's shrink them down a little bit and start over. Basically, what I want them to do is get smaller as they get taller. Instead of every block going straight up, I want them to kind of like taper inwards. Let's clear out these 2 levels. I can do that with my clear function, which I still have hanging around. Right there. Enable that. So I'm going to set some blocks back to air. Don't forget to press mod. Oh, and cannot leave this one enabled and just floating right there. It's got to be disabled, so disable that. And let's get rid of let's get rid of the middle one first. That'll be fun. Pop. Yep. So that gets rid of the middle one. Kind of slices through everything. Actually, this looks pretty neat. That's funny. But now I have kind of like a slice going through everything. I like that. And I'll go ahead and get rid of the top one too, though, since I want to start over from just 1 level down. So I'll start here and get rid of that cuboid. Pop, pop. I could have gotten rid of them both at once if I had made my cuboid region a little bit bigger. I just would have had to change my code right here, but this works too. So, okay, so now we're back to the beginning where we have the bases for a bunch of hills, but we want them to grow up in a slightly different way. So let's try to get that to work. So I'll put this one back, disable it for next time. We'll enable this one. This one did almost what we want, but not quite. So I do want it to build the grass upwards. So I think this is all correct. I just don't want it to do it all the time. I don't want it to do it when it's just an edge block. Actually, let's do it by hand because that'll help us figure out what we want. I think what we want is it should only build up if it's surrounded by grass blocks. So that would be this one. And this one is also surrounded, so that one would go up. This one is surrounded, so it goes up. That one is surrounded, that one is surrounded. Basically everything except the ones on the edge. So not that one, because it's not surrounded. But all of these on the inside. Oopsie, didn't mean to destroy that. There we go. All the ones on the edge I want to go up. And it kind of starts to make a hill. That is closer to what I want. So what we need to do is change this if statement. Not just if it's grass, but if it's grass and it's surrounded by grass, then we want it to grow upwards. So how do we detect, oh, I should get rid of all that. How do we detect if it's surrounded by grass and it is grass? That is the challenge. So we'll start back here and let's go back to the code. We have all the ingredients here already, actually. When we're at some location, we can check if it's grass. We just want to also check around that block. So that's not too hard, actually. So let's move this, actually this whole thing out, and I'm going to store that into a variable. And I'm going to call this variable isGrass. If you've never used variables before, this might be a little bit confusing, but what I'm doing right here is I'm having the drone check the material at the location of the drone. If that is equal to grass, what it's going to store inside of this variable is basically kind of like the word true. True. It's true that there is grass at the drone's location. That's one of the things we want to check. But we also want to check if there's grass to the left of it. So let's actually just move the drone left. We'll move the drone left, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll just check to see if the material at the location of the drone is grass. But instead of storing it into a variable called isGrass, let's store it into a variable called isGrass to the left. So if it is grass to the left, then it'll store basically like the word true into that variable. And now let's move it 2 to the right and check again. And we'll call that isGrass to right. So just to make sure we're all on board with what's happening here, let's pretend the drone came to this block as it was going through the cuboid region. It came to this block right there. That's where the drone is. So we move to the left, we check to see if that's grass. Then we want to move 2 to the right and check if that's grass. And that's what we just did. And now we want to move 1 to the left and 1 forward and check if that's grass. So 1 to the left and then 1 forward. So, and we'll now do another check and we'll store that into a variable. isGrass to, or in front. So basically we're moving the drone around and doing kind of like a little search. And every time we find something we're interested in, we store that into a variable. So that at this point, we know if we found grass, we know if there's grass to the left, we know if there's grass to the right, now we know that there's grass in the front. And one more thing, we got to check to see if it's grass in the back. So let's move backwards 2. Why 2? Because we were, let's say this was the place where the drone is. We checked left, we moved 2, and we checked right. We moved left and then forward and checked in front. Move a waistline. And then we move backwards 2, right there. Backwards 2, and then we could do another check, stored into another variable. Call this variable isGrass behind. And then last thing, we just need to put the drone right back where it was, move forward 1. So now we know 5 things. We know whether there's grass there, we know whether there's grass to the left, to the right, in front, and behind. And if all of those things are true, if there's grass in every one of those places, that is when we want to raise up. So, how do we write the if statement condition to check to see if all of those are true? There are 2 ways you can do it. You can use this AND block and say if is grass and is grass to the left, etc., etc., etc. You'll have to use multiple of these blocks, though, and kind of put one inside the other and to check to see if all of these are true. I don't like that, actually. I think it looks kind of ugly and gets a little bit big. So what I'm going to do is write just a little bit of JavaScript code, tiny little bit of JavaScript code right in here. So I'm going to say if it is grass, and this little double ampersand, that's just the way of saying and. So if it is grass and it is grass to left and is grass in front and is grass behind. A tiny bit of JavaScript code there. I love Blockly. Actually, Blockly is a phenomenal language. I like JavaScript too, and I like to mix them together when appropriate. And in this case, I just want this part to be much shorter because there's a lot of little things in here, and it's just shorter to write this piece of the code in JavaScript. But the idea is that if it is grass and it is grass to the left and to the right and in front and behind, then we raise up and build another grass block on top. Whew, okay, I think we're ready to test. All right, where's my sponge block? Here we go. So now let's run our raise hill tool and see what happens. Haha, yes, exactly. That's exactly what we want. Every single one of these raises up and goes inside. Ooh, there's an interesting glitch there. Why did that not build? Is that just a one-time glitch? Like a weird Minecraft bug? Or is it a problem with our code? I think it might be a problem with our code, because, yeah, look, it should have built right there. It's like almost what we want. It's just every now and then it's not detecting, I guess, if there's a grass to the right. Oh, yep, exactly. Look at that. There's a problem with our code. We did check to see if there was grass to the right, but we didn't include that in our if statement. Is grass to the left, is grass in front, is grass behind, and we also care that there is grass to the right. So there you go. So I made a mistake, but we were able to detect that mistake by running our code. And that's something that happens all the time. You should not be afraid to make mistakes, because you can catch them as long as you look critically at what happened and try to figure out why it didn't do what you expected. So we got some of what we wanted, but not all of it, and so we had to go back and fix a bug. Now that we fixed that bug, let's clear out the top part and run our new fixed code again, just to make sure that it really does work. So I'll keep this, but I will disable it. And where is our code for clearing stuff? It's right here. Enable that. Press mod. Back to game. And let's clear out the top level. Clear out this level. And now clear out this level, because I accidentally ran it twice. There we go. Okay, so now we're back down to one level. And now let's pop our fixed code back in. Disable that. Put that in. Enable that. Press mod. And hopefully it will work without any bugs this time. Run. That didn't work at all. I was totally wrong. What's going on there? Say terrain gen. I ran the right thing. Did I put another bug in as I was trying to get rid of the first bug? We got is grass. Is grass to left? Is grass in front? Is grass behind? And is grass to right? We look to the left. We look to the right. We look in front. We look behind. And we go back to where we started. It looks right to me. Let's try running it one more time and just see what happens. Nope, there's definitely something weird happening here. What is going on? It's interesting. Looks like it's not growing at all right there. Oh, is it because that is dirt? I think that's why. It's like the dirt. Yeah, that must be it. Yeah. So since that's dirt, it doesn't count as grass. And yeah, and so it won't grow up. Ooh, okay, so that's fine. We can fix that. Basically, we want to turn all the dirt back into grass. Which, hey, this is, guess what? I bet we can do this with the cuboid function. So I didn't plan this. This is just kind of like a random weird bug we ran into because I forgot that those would turn into dirt because Minecraft just turns grass into dirt sometimes. But you know what? We can turn it back. So let's disable this. This is not going to be hard at all. So by the way, let me just add this to our cuboid function here. We widen grass blocks. We can raise up hills. That's what we're working on right now. We're going to get that to work in just a second. But as a quick detour, we're going to replace all dirt with grass. We can do that with our cuboid function as well. And it's going to be similar to this one that clears everything, but we don't want to clear it. We want to turn it to grass. Do I have a grass block somewhere around here? Yeah, there's a grass block. So we want to place the block of type grass, but not everywhere. We only want to place it there if there's dirt. So let's grab an if statement. We don't need the stuff inside that. We're going to put that in there. So drone will place block of type grass if the material at its location is dirt. So this will do a conversion from dirt to grass. Dirt. Cool. So now the drone is going to look at its material at the location. If it's dirt, it'll turn it to grass. Alright. Let's run that and see if it gets rid of that dirt. Yep, it totally did. Look at that. It got rid of that dirt. And now I see no more dirt. Now the real question is, once I get rid of all of those extra grass blocks and it turns the grass underneath into dirt, can we get rid of all of those? Time set day, toggle downfall. Hopefully that stops it raining in a second. There we go. Okay, so let's keep this. This is actually a super useful tool, but we'll disable it and we'll do another clear. Press mod. Now, let's run this, and it should get rid of the second layer. Yeah, it gets rid of the second layer, but it left some dirt around, which I don't like because it messes up the next thing we want to do. So now let's get rid of all the dirt. Disable that. Enable this. Convert all the dirt to grass. Let's do that. There it is. Now it loaded. And do that. Bop. And then it gets rid of all of the dirt. Every single thing. Which is pretty darn cool. You know what? Actually, I want you to write that for this lesson. I want you to write the conversion function for this lesson. We'll come back to the one where we're going to raise up the hills, because this is just super useful. So you can check the material at somewhere, and if it matches, then you turn it into something else. And by the way, we could do some pretty cool stuff. We could turn all the grass into diamond. That'd be neat. Let's do that real quick. Diamond block. Let's turn all the grass into diamond blocks. Now it's loaded. There it is. Bop. Yep. And now they're all diamond. Every single one of them. But only where the grass is, which is really, really neat. So you can do that to turn any kind of block within a cuboid region into any other kind of block, which is really, really awesome. So that's what I want you to write. For this badge, I want you to do a conversion. So just write this code right here, which turns grass into diamond, and then we'll come back, and then we'll keep working on making the hills taller.